Hey everyone, this is Ron French from the Shoulder and Hand Therapy Center in Paris, Tennessee. I'm an occupational therapist and a certified hand therapist. And today I want to talk to you a little bit about arthritic hands. Most of the time when you have arthritic hands, it's either going to be osteoarthritis or it's going to be rheumatoid arthritis. They abbreviate them OA and RA. Uh, they're two different types of arthritis, and they affect your hands differently. However, the end results a lot of times are the same. And so what I'm here today to talk to you about is a little bit about what's going on in your hands and a little bit about what you can do to take away some of that achiness, that stiffness, that pain that you have that stops you from doing the things that you want to do, which is the most important thing of all, of course. Because when you lose use of your hands, you're in big trouble. And over my career, I've seen people that just had very, very little use of their hands, or maybe just a little pinch or something like this, because their hands were so deformed and painful from having arthritis for many years. The first thing you need to know is what's going on in your hands. So it all depends on exactly what you have. If you have osteoarthritis, the short version is you have little pieces of cartilage in between each joint, and what happens is that cartilage starts to deteriorate, and as it does, it allows the bones to rub up against each other, and of course that causes a lot of pain. It also loosens the joint because the cartilage in there is gone now. With rheumatoid arthritis, it's more of an inflammatory problem. Once the joints start to inflame, what happens is the tissue starts to deteriorate around the joint, making the joint very loose. And as the joint gets loose, it's susceptible to forces that go crooked on it. And so basically what that can do then is start to crook, those fingers. You've seen them on people before. They start to crook, they deviate, all kinds of problems, and they end up not being able to make a good fist. They can't grab things well, and it just gets worse and worse. And chances are, if you have arthritis, either you've diagnosed yourself, and you're probably right, or a doctor has diagnosed you, and he said, yes, you have arthritis. Here's a pill. Go home, take one every day or two every day, and good luck. What I want to talk to you about is the rest of the story, the things you need to know about. And so let's talk about the loss of that cartilage or the loss of that soft tissue. Because I don't have arthritis in these joints, when I pinch something, if I take something and I pinch it, the force is going to go straight through my joints because they're nice and snug, and that's the way it's designed to do. However, if you've lost cartilage in there or you've lost soft tissue in there and that joint is loose, what happens is when you pinch something, the force goes crooked. And of course, the more you pinch, the more sideways that crooked force you get, and that starts to cause them to deviate or to cripple, as some people say. It makes them crooked. And so the big idea is to stop doing those things to your fingers. And so how do you do that? Well, it's impossible to do it 100%. But what you can do is start cutting down on things that cause you to do that. So anytime you do an activity like pinch a bottle, if this littlest joint here is going to take all the pressure because it's going to be the joint past where you're applying the pressure. If I can take this bottle and put it a little lower in my hand and pinch, then this little bit bigger joint is going to take the pressure. If I can get it here, then this even bigger joint is going to take the pressure. If I get it in my palm, the next joint down is my wrist, which is a lot bigger joint, a lot stronger, and it can handle it better. And so the idea is to take the forces off these little joints with everything you do. For example, if you pick up a fork, let's call this a fork, and you get that little bitty pinch there. That pinch is right out there on the edge of that joint. Doesn't seem like much to you, but it's one It's one straw on the camel's back. And every time you pinch, come up to eat, you just put a straw on the camel's back. What you want to do is get a bigger handled fork. So they make all kinds of stuff, and this is ones I have in my clinic. Nice big handle. I can put this fork in the palm of my hand and eat just fine. It's a lot easier to grasp. It takes less force, less pinch, and if I do put any force, it's on my wrist because this thing's in the palm of my hand now. And so doing that one little thing takes away a little bit of that stress that you put on it during the day. It's all the stressors, all the little things you do during the day that build up. And by the end of the day, the hands hurt. By the next morning, they're stiff, they ache, and it's because of what you did the day before. And so as you go through your day, if you will start to watch what you do and how you do it, and start trying to use bigger joints, bigger force, bigger handles, bigger utensils. Sometimes, I have a little arthritis in this, what they call the CMC joint here. And I can't paint with a brush because it starts to hurt, that little pinch of holding the brush. So I take duct tape and I wrap it around until I've got a handle, this fat. And then I can hold it without putting a lot of pressure on that thumb and do my painting. And it makes all the difference in the world. And you'll start to notice when you start looking at your day this way that there's a lot of things like that you can adjust. You don't have to go out and buy big things, although these are nice to have. You could, if you're not worried about how it looks, you can wrap duct tape around it. Anything to build up the handle. You can wrap a rag around it and tape it on there with some Scotch tape. Doesn't really matter. Depends on, what you feel comfortable with. Utensils like this is a spoon. They're about 20 bucks a piece, but they'll last you forever. You'll never need them again. They're dishwashable. And when it comes to cutting with a knife, they have knives like this, which are called rocker knives. And it's basically designed, instead of that sawing motion you have to do cutting meat, it's basically designed to rock. So you just cut like this. And it takes a lot of pressure off those fingers when you're doing this. They even have a key-handled one like this that you just hold on here. Now all that pressure is going to go into my wrist. There's going to be none on my fingers. And I just lay it on the meat and cut, cut, cut. These work really, really well. There's lots of adaptive equipment. And you can go online. You can find all kinds of adaptive equipment. In fact, if you go to my clinic site, shoulderandhandtherapycenter.com, there's a store there. And if you click into the store and scan down, it's got little boxes. You'll see one that says functional solutions. Functional solutions is what you want to go into. And there's all kinds of adaptive equipment in there designed for people who are having trouble using their hands. It's worth looking at because there's going to be a lot of things in there you never thought of. This is such a big issue. 1 in 6 people in the United States have arthritis. 1 in 2 people over 65 have it. And like I said at the beginning of this video, if you lose the use of your hands, you're in big trouble. And so the idea is if you'll take these forces off, you'll slow down the progression of it. You slow down the progression, you use your hands longer. And hopefully your hands will outlast you. If you continue to use little pinches and do everything the way you've been doing them all your life, you're going to make this disease progress quicker. And that's the whole idea behind what I'm talking about today, is to slow down this progression. Those achy, stiff hands, I'm telling you, one of the best things you can do is in the morning, run you a sink of nice hot water. Hot water like dishwater hot. You don't want to burn yourself, but you want to just run a sink deep enough to get past your wrists. Put your hands down in there. It's easy, work them. It'll take a lot of that stiffness out. There's a lot of other ways to address the stiffness also and the pain. I'm just going over a little bit. I have a book that I have written just on this subject. It's called The Art of Living with Arthritic Hands. It's available on Amazon, and it's also if you're on my website, there's a click to it that'll take you right to Amazon. You can buy it. It's $14.99. It's 30 years of experience of working with people with arthritis, and it's things that your doc just does not tell you. That's not his forte. As a certified hand therapist, it is my forte. I've seen this work many, many, many times. And in the book, I go over lots of different ways for you to ease the pain in your hands, the stiffness in your hands. I go over a lot more about adapting the way you do things. It's definitely worth the read. And it goes a little bit more into exactly what's going on inside your hands. Because, folks, your body is a machine, and it's just like your car. If you know what's going on inside that engine, you can keep it running a little better. So the more you know about what's happening with your hands, the better you can keep them going, because you understand why this type of activity isn't that great for them. And I don't want you to take away activities. I'm trying to add activities. And we can add activities by taking stress off and doing them an easier way. Now, a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't want adaptive equipment." And I say, well, you know what a chainsaw is? It's a piece of adaptive equipment. We used to use a handsaw. We came up with something that made it easier, and we do it that way. It's what a lawnmower is. We used to have them that didn't have motors. Remember those things? We came up with an easier way. And as humans, we're looking for easier ways to do things so our body lasts. So don't let the word adaptive equipment push you off. You've been using adaptive equipment forever. That's what a drill is, instead of using a screwdriver to take out a screw. So just to recap, you got to take care of these hands. You want them to outlast you. If they're aching you and they're hurting you, they are going to get worse unless you start addressing the way you use them on a daily basis. The thing is to fill that camel's back halfway with straws and not all the way with straws. So if you can take away half the things that you're doing that are bad for your hands, then you're going to be a lot better off. They're going to feel better the next morning, and they'll move better the next morning. And you'll notice a difference as time goes, that those hands you can do more with them because you're not putting unnecessary stresses on those little arthritic joints. This is Ron French, Shoulder and Hand Therapy Center, Paris, Tennessee. You guys have a great day.